Hello, I'm John Richards, chairman of Worthing Skeptics in the Pub. Well, that's the hat I'm wearing at the moment. I'd like to introduce Alex O'Connor, otherwise known as YouTuber cosmicskeptic. Alex has kindly accepted the invitation to be our honorary president for 2019. He follows in the footsteps of reader in philosophy Stephen Law. So the first thing I must do is thank Stephen for occupying that role in 2018. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Alex, and thank you for giving us your time to do this little interview. Now,
I'm glad to do it.
Great. Now, you're a young man who has rocketed onto the scene thanks to YouTube, the amazing technology that gives us an audience, when previously only young musicians like Mozart or football players, child prodigies, could attract spectators. But now even nerds and geeks, well, I'm not going to label you that way, but I'm going to say like me, maybe you'll adopt one of those descriptions. Even nerds and geeks like me can get patrons. Can you tell us, how did this start for you?
It's difficult to say. I mean, it was a number of years ago now, I think about 2 years, I was quite enthralled at the idea of making videos and putting them online. And I didn't necessarily have an aim or a goal. I mean, it was just for fun. It was something I enjoyed doing. And then I made one video in particular that was, it was a criticism of a cartoon put out by the Watchtower organization, the Jehovah's Witness governing body. And it got shared in the right places. It got shared on Reddit. It got shared by Hemant Mehta, a friendly atheist blog. And before I knew it, I woke up the next day to 10,000 views on that video. And I was blown away, and I realized that I've got something resembling momentum here. And if I make another video of a similar sort, then I might be able to keep it going. So I made another religiously styled video. And that went well too, and that's when I kind of realized that this is what I need to be talking about. People seem to have an interest in what I'm saying on this for whatever reason.
It's an issue. That's why
it is. Well, I think it's all down to luck, because you say it's easy not easy, but it's possible for anybody to garner an audience and garner patrons, and that's true to an extent. But there is still a huge element of luck, depending on how the algorithm treats you. But when you get that luck, you need to be ready for it. And luckily, I was ready for it. So I was able to jump on it. And so I kept making these videos of a similar style. And it was only the more I did that although it started as something you do out of pure interest, it evolves because you get a lot of messages from people who say that the topics that are being discussed are incredibly important to them personally, and that they're struggling with a family who will disown them for finding out their philosophical position, or you find out people living all around the world trying to escape a country or trying to escape a government, or their family or their social environment. And then it kind of shifted, because now when I make these videos, I have that in mind. So it's no longer just having a bit of fun in front of a camera. I feel almost obliged to discuss and talk about atheistic philosophy, just because of the fact that I have the ability to. There are so many people who have risked their lives to do what I'm doing. And here I am, able to do it for free. And I think I'd be a fool not to take up that opportunity.
Well, you've got a mission, people like that, and you've accepted a responsibility, people like that. Now, you went to speak on the West Coast, didn't you?
That's right. I've been twice to speak.
How did that come about?
So the first time, one of my patrons actually set up an event. He lives in California, and he is quite involved with the atheist community of San Jose. And he spoke to the director, I suppose, whoever was in charge, to set up an event after he was a patron of mine. And we spoke a few times. We've gotten to know each other, and he suggested it would be a good idea to set up an event in San Jose. So he did, and I flew out there and was able to give a talk on the Kalam cosmological argument, which was really fun. It was one of my first experiences public speaking, and especially doing it abroad. It was a wonderful experience. And then not too long afterwards, I think the following year, so that was in sort of July of 2017. And then in February 2018, I was going to Los Angeles to give a talk as well, and that was as part of a conference called Logical LA, which they do every year, I believe, and had a really good lineup. That Lawrence Krauss was the keynote speaker, and I was really lucky to take part in that. So I spoke on the Sunday morning, and that was another great opportunity.
Yeah, excellent. And they love an English accent, don't they?
Absolutely. It's one of the things that can really, I think it might be one of the sole reasons why I'm able to get away with giving talks amongst that kind of company, is that I'm the one with the accent, so they'll listen to what I have to say.
Yes. It's also the fact of being a prophet in another land, I think. That's one biblical thing that does have a ring of truth.
Well, there's an interesting, it's an interesting thing to consider the difference between the UK and the US in the sense that they're kind of polar opposites, in that America is a constitutionally secular country, and yet it's one of the most religious in terms of its social environment. Whereas in the UK, it's the complete opposite. We have a constitutionally Christian country, an officially Christian country, and yet the population is by and large quite at least secular and probably atheist. So it's interesting to see how those perspectives merge, because you can go to America and be jealous of their protection of free religion in government, but also they would be envious of the fact that you don't have the same kind of culture. So there's something to love from each. But it like you say, it's good to be able to go over there and speak about the experience in an actually Christian country, and have conversations about to protect governmental interference in religious freedom, or the social environment and the family and friends and society's influence over the religious situation. And that's an interesting conversation to have.
It's odd, isn't it? We Brits love dogs and the Americans seem to love gods.
Something like that, yeah.
Just an anagram. Okay, you're now in your first term at Oxford, aren't you? What are you reading there?
So I'm in my second term at the moment, but still in the first year. So when you do philosophy, so I'm studying philosophy and theology, and I'm more doing it for the philosophy. The theology is kind of, I see it as a tag on. So every philosophy undergraduate, and that includes the people doing philosophy, politics, and economics, which is the kind of holy grail of politicians' courses. Everybody does in the first year on logic and moral philosophy. So that's a mixture of studying formal logic and also a particular practical moral theory, which in this case, and I think in the case of most universities, is Mill's utilitarianism. It's a very common introduction to morality. So we're studying, well, we did that last term. We did Mill's utilitarianism. This term we're doing general philosophy, which is the other introductory paper that people have to do, which is, it attempts to kind of cover the very basic groundwork of philosophical thinking. So you do mind and body, you do the nature and analysis of knowledge, you do free will, you do the problem of evil, that kind of thing. So that is the basis of philosophy in the first year. It's formal logic, moral philosophy with utilitarianism, and then general philosophy. And then on the theology side, I have to do a paper called Religion and Religions. So you study religion as a social and anthropological construct, and you study world religions. And then there's another paper which is compulsory, which is the figure of Jesus through the centuries. So you have to study the figure of Jesus through the eyes of different scholars like Augustine and Anselm and Athanasius, for instance.
I'm sorry about my distraction here. But you go away and play with your sister. Bye-bye. Well, we'd love you to come and speak to Worthing Skeptics, and I know that you've only got limited availability, but we will look at when you break up and take a holiday or a vacation from Oxford and try and slot you in sometime. It might not be until the autumn. Meanwhile, good luck on your course. Thank you very much for this interview. Have a lovely day.
Not a problem. Well, you too, and thank you for the invitation. And I'm glad that I'm able to write The Secular World. I would love to come and speak at the group as well. But like you say, it might be a little while because of the busyness. But
yes,
if we can make it happen, then we will.
Brilliant. You could possibly become a regular correspondent to Secular World, but we'll leave that for another time. Bye-bye, Alex. Thank you.